The battle is over books with LGBTQ themes.
More book bans sprouting up all over the country than we ever saw before.
1,600 books were banned in more than 5,000 schools in 32 states.
I feel like we've kind of stepped back in time. It's heartbreaking.
We will not be banned.
It is critical that Gerber Hart exists right now.
Gerber Hart is a community, a stronghold, a safe place.
Gerber Hart is an anti-fascist tool. It's a survival tool, and it's also a tool of celebration.
We are passionate about preserving and making accessible LGBTQ history and stories. We keep the books on our shelves here for people to access when their access is perhaps completely removed in other places.
So when people come in, their reactions are usually shock that this place exists. They don't know where to begin. It's like, a kid in a candy store. Yeah, several different holdings. We have a lending library that's open to the public and free to use with thousands and thousands of books, graphic novels, children's literature, young adult literature, DVDs.
Our exhibits and our programming really make LGBTQ stories come to life.
And then we also facilitate public education of queer history, queer fiction, queer horror stories and poetry and smut films.
We're filming this in a very cold room full of very hot material. This is where the erotica is shelved. These materials have sociological, aesthetic, socio-political importance.
This library is queer.
This library is queer.
This library is so queer.
The physical space of the library is a queer sanctuary, and that can never be replaced by any sort of digital platform. We provide a space for people of all genders and sexualities to conduct their own research and to grow in their learning.
Queer literature gave me an opportunity to understand myself better and to understand other people better, regardless of their sexuality.
The gay novel that has marked my life most profoundly is Dancer from the Dance by Andrew Holleran. Even though it's 50 years old and captures a world that I don't have access to, it painted a picture for me of what gay life could be.
Leslie Feinberg's Stone Butch Blues was just a classic of the butch experience, the lesbian experience.
Two boys kissing. I was in my late 20s at this time when I read it, but if I had had this when I was in high school, if I had had this when I was younger, I would have seen that there are other stories about people that were like me, about kids that were like me, and that the feelings I was feeling at the time were okay and they were real.
The most pressing reason right now for a place like Gerber Hart is to make sure that these materials that are being pulled out of libraries are available here. We need to push back against these fascist forces, and I use that word consciously and purposely.
Many people may have seen the images or the film reels of Nazis burning books by Jewish people and queer people in 1930s Germany, and the legacy of that still exists today.
History has shown that our stories can be erased and that they may not be permanent based on the politics of the era or what's going on in the world.
Gerber Hart actually started as a repository for materials of queer people whose families had no interest in preserving their records and photographs and videotapes, their joys, their mundanity. And so that is now our responsibility.
And so it's very comforting to know that this is a space where if someone comes in and they want to deliver a book challenge to one of the books on our shelves, we can just laugh in their face and tell them to leave.
We will not be banned. Our literature will not be banned. Our movies will not be banned. Our music will not be banned.
How can you help Gerber Hart? We need donations. We need books. We need technology, all these things that make a library a library.
Volunteering is also like a mutually satisfying way to engage with the archive. You need no experience. Training happens on the job. There is such an open door.
People can help Gerber Hart by visiting, by becoming registered borrowers if they aren't already. It's free.
everything that we have sitting in our archives, I want to see them used. I want to see more artists coming in and scanning our materials and creating new art out of them.
I'd like to encourage other elders of the community to scour their closets, because they're not in their closets anymore, their basements, their file cabinets, for material that might be relevant to this collection.
I guess I have a request for viewers. Always, we're welcoming donations.
More money would allow for us to have more staff, and that means more programs, more activities at Gerber Hart, more projects getting done faster, and just an explosion of growth.
I volunteer at Gerber Hart because I'm just really passionate about making sure queer stories stay alive. All libraries should be safe spaces, but Gerber Hart in particular, or anyone in the LGBTQ communities that exist in Chicago or beyond the city, we're here for you.
This library is queer!
We will not be banned. We will not be banned. That was weird.